This is Bean to Barstool, a podcast that looks at the intersections of craft chocolate, craft beer, and other artisan drinks. My name is David Nilsen. I'm a professional drinks writer, an advanced cicerone, the author of Pairing Beer and Chocolate, and the creator and host of this show. The music for this episode is by my dear friend, indie folk musician Anna P.S. You can find out more about Anna's music in the show notes or on annapsmusic.com. You can find links and information about our guests in the show notes as well. I hope you enjoy this episode of Bean to Barstool. Hey everybody, got a bonus episode for you today looking at the latest edition of the Piano Keys Chocolate Vanilla Imperial Stout collaboration helmed by the legendary Ale Sharpton from Atlanta, Georgia. You might remember a couple summers back, Ale came on the show to do a full interview on the Piano Keys collab. At the time, he was brewing that beer with New Belgium. He is now working with Creature Comforts out of Georgia to brew the latest edition of the beer. In this episode, we talk with Ale and Creature Comforts brewer Blake Tyers all about the new edition of the beer, the spirit behind this, the cacao and vanilla they're using. In the previous edition, he was working with Chocolate out of Atlanta. They've got a new partner now for their cacao nibs. Talk a little bit about fonio, an African grain that's been getting some buzz in the brewing industry and makes an appearance in this beer. So let's spend a few minutes with Ale Sharpton and Blake Tyers of Creature Comforts to talk all about Piano Keys Imperial Stout. Ale and Blake, thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit about the new release of your Piano Keys collaboration. Ale, at the outset here, tell us a little bit, just the basics of what this beer is all about, what this collaboration's about, and when can people expect it?
Oh, absolutely. Before I start, I just want to thank you for all you do with the industry. I appreciate you, David, with your publications, your podcasts, and everything else, man. You're a true professional. Appreciate you, man. We need you.
Thank you. Cheers.
No problem. Cheers, buddy. Piano Keys, man, it's something that I conceptualized originally when New Belgium reached out to me. And they said they want to be a consultant to help them diversify not only their team and their staff, but also their audience. And so I came up with the idea of creating a beer that brings white people, black people, everybody together. So there's your chocolate vanilla, ebony ivory, shout out to Paul McCartney and that collaboration with Stevie Wonder. But since then, man, it's been a chocolate vanilla imperial stout. And I had a great 7 years with them. And I took some time to move on. The Piano Keys is my brand. So then I had a little bit of that time to just regroup after a great 7 years with New Belgium, and we were doing some other stuff. But right now I'm looking for a brewery, and I want a little something closer to home. New Belgium, based in Colorado. And there are so many great breweries to choose from here, especially in Atlanta, but even throughout Georgia. But my rich history with Piano Keys going to Creature Comforts has made the most sense. The stouts are already fire. I'm a big fan of their IPA. And I remember Tropicalia is one of the most popular IPAs in the state, let alone South. And so I remember trying that the first time when Dave Stein at the time came to Brickstore. He wanted me to try his beer. And I thought it was phenomenal. And then since then, Creature Comforts has developed a lot of friends over the years, done a lot of community service, and just been homies with me. It's been very organic, and it just made the perfect sense to choose somebody close to home. So I picked Creature Comforts.
That's awesome. And when is this beer coming out, and how will people be able to get it?
Man, we're still working on a few of the logistics, although a wonderful video just came out today, which is January 23rd. But we are going to be doing some real launches at some great beer bars. Also at the brewery itself, that's going to be in Athens. So that's going to be your first initial launch. And Blake will give you a little more of the details because we're still stepping out a few things. But we do have one amazing event slated, and that will be on February 23rd. And that's going to be with Terminal West, one of the great concert venues here in Atlanta. And they're going to be celebrating me being 30 as Ale Sharpton. I know I look 30 as well, but no, it's just 30 years of it in the industry. So it's going to be really fun, man. And already the planning and working with such a professional team, man, it's really awesome, man. I just can't wait.
That sounds awesome. I know in the previous iteration of this, there had been a mail order option. Is there any possibility in the future that we'll be able to get this around the country?
Man, we're already opening in different states with the cans. Blake could kind of talk more about that in detail, including who's going to be getting the tap, the draft, and kegs, and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be at some amazing beer bars, and this is just the beginning. So who knows what happens with the future? But right now, man, it's been a journey already.
That's awesome. Blake, can you share real quickly what you're aware of as far as distribution on this?
Yeah, unfortunately, we would love to be able to mail beer, but we are not allowed to do that in the state of Georgia. So we've got to go through the three-tier system. So we'll have the beer available, obviously, at our tasting room. We also will have the beer in both draft and packaged throughout our Georgia footprint. You'll see heavily concentrated in Atlanta, but we'll have it in Atlanta, Augusta, down in the coast towards Savannah. So it'll be spread all around. And then we'll be sending the beer to South Carolina and Tennessee. So it will be spread around the Southeast for sure.
I need to
I
get a
do want to say
connection down
also we're
there.
going to be doing something in DC. We're working on that as well, and that's going to be crazy. So we're really focused on specialty beer bars. So people like the Porter, the Brick Store, Argosy, Hop City, and Church Key, which is in DC, are just some of the names of those big timers who really already showing us love, hearing about this collaboration, and have shown love in the past. So we're really excited.
Well, yeah, you got to be my hookup. I'm going to need you to get some
Got
beer
you.
to me.
Get my mule on. All right, you got it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you alluded at the beginning to some of the background behind the beer and why you created this project originally. Wondering if you can speak to just a little bit more of why that's an important mission to you, and maybe why that's more important than ever right now.
It's really important for a lot of great question, by the way. A lot of great reasons. One of the big motivations originally was diversity, and it continues to be that. Anybody, especially who's black, doing something in the beer scene is has to have diversity. Well, like I always say, the civil rights movement didn't happen with just black people. It happened with a lot of people working together for a common cause. And it's the same way right now in the beer industry. Again, black breweries, there's only 1% in the nation that are owned by black people. And that's alarming. And so doing these collaborations brings some definite awareness to those factors, but also the fact that I'm a person of creativity and a person who loves flavors. Chocolate vanilla educates people and tells them, wow, I didn't know beer can not only be yellow and fizzy or whatever what they're thinking as what's been promoted to them through commercials and everything else. Beer is something that has every flavor. That's really only beverage I can emulate every flavor. And so I thought, why not do something really creative and tell people we could do chocolate vanilla beer? And Blake, he's a beast. I mean, I'm not going to team up with somebody whose brewing skills are ass or shaky at best. We're not doing that. So he got it, and his confidence and knowing how dope he is really is what attracted me to even sign with Creature Comforts and do this. So I appreciate them bringing me on as well. It's a brand I created with a lot of love, a love for music and a love for art. So even down to the can design, Creature was down to hear what I had to say, and we collaborated on something very, very special.
That's cool. Is the can design recognizable from what we saw the last time, or is this totally new?
Subtle hints. The colorway is going to be the same. I love my black and red, and there's some white in there for the piano aspect, of course. But of course, I mean, I'm in Atlanta, so black and red is very popular here as well. But also, it just works so well, but the can design is going to be different. People are like, oh wait, I heard of piano keys, but I didn't hear this. And you're gonna see some other really cool things that we added to the front of it. So shout out to my man Larry and Tyler for helping out with this project as well. They're with Creature and doing a phenomenal job with me.
That sounds very cool. Well, Blake, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we can expect with the beer itself? Give us some specs and what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be a 9.6% Imperial Stout. 96 was the year that ale got started. So we wanted to drop that little hint in there. And, we try to be really intentional about selective with our ingredients and where they're coming from, similar to kind of ale's approach in the world of journalism and talking about beer. We wanted to kind of make sure that we emulated that and brought our sense of intentionality to what we're putting into the beer as well. So Ale and I got together and we got a group of vanilla beans from one of our main supplier for vanilla, and we got beans that are from multiple species of vanilla and multiple locations of vanilla. And what we selected were three different vanillas that we're putting together. We're putting, let's see, we've got a Peruvian vanilla, the Cook Islands vanilla, and a Ugandan vanilla. And this mix goes across a few species of vanilla as well that give us this really rich, deep character that not only gives us some of that classic like floral and sweet vanilla flavor, but also really nice, like almost like brownie kind of notes and some more like dark leather and interesting kind of rich flavors that really add to the depth and complexity of the beer. In addition to that, we're using Condor Chocolates, who are our neighbors in Athens. We love working with them. They have a beautiful intentional story as well about their heritage coming from Ecuador and their grandmother being from there, and that's where they source all of their chocolate. So we love working with them and pulling their chocolate in, and it's awesome that we can get that chocolate, those nibs, like freshly roasted going into the beer. We feel like cutting down on that time between roast and going into the beer actually brings a lot more depth to the flavor. We've also got a little fonio in there to help continue telling that story and bringing some of those high protein kind of grains that add to the body and texture in beers like this. So it's going to be a nice, rich, velvety kind of drinking experience at 9.6%, really rounded out in the depth of quality you get in that chocolate and vanilla combo. But with a sense of balance that I think we've become known for at Creature Comforts.
That sounds awesome. When you're writing that base beer recipe, knowing that you're going to be putting the cacao nibs and the vanilla in, is there anything unique you're doing to kind of set that up for those adjuncts?
It's not necessarily unique, but the way I like to think about flavor and working with my team is the way we kind of talk about adding beers in is never that we want to have like just one note of a flavor, where we try to use different sources of flavor. So in this case, grain and cocoa nibs and vanilla to kind of work in symphony and concert to kind of bring all the flavors together and add some depth to it. So we're certainly using a nice mix of roasted malts and dark malts in there to kind of pull out or emphasize some of those other flavors we get, and I think you make sure you leave a little balance on the dryness level or the sweetness level, learning that you need to emphasize the qualities that you have in your vanilla and your cocoa nibs, but you don't want to be over the top where people, you don't want to get syrupy. You don't want to get to the place where people can't really enjoy that glass.
Ale, I'm sure you've had a chance to try it. What do you think of the beer?
I'm going up actually next week to. It's exciting, man. It's just sitting in the tank. I had actually a preview of another stout that Blake made, and if it was anywhere close to that one, what stout was that, Blake, that you had me taste? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was Well I Declare, which is a pecan stout that we made in the fall, or late winter, or early winter, I should say. We kind of had that as being a similar kind of ABV range.
Sure.
We tasted that and kind of looked at how we need to make it similar or different to kind of get to this project.
Well, another thing, just so you know, Blake, David is a chocolate expert. Like he's a beast with that. So his questions are going to be on point. I'm enjoying anything he's asking you. You guys can nerd out. I'm just sitting back like, wow, that's what my beer is going to be like. Like I'm getting more excited. But also, man, just like you see it, the creativity here and the excitement there, man, like and expertise. Those are things. There's no other brand I want to work with regarding what this is going to be, man. And their audience is also very, very diverse as well. So we do a lot of things. They do a lot of community work. So it only makes sense. So we have some other things that are rising. But look for the merch. We said something about glasses. The glasses are going to be sick. I did some glasses last time, but I redesigned them with Creature Comforts, and they're sick. So
can't wait to see it. Well, I know fonio has been getting some buzz, of course,
Yep.
in the beer world for the last year or two, but I imagine a lot of my listeners are probably hearing that word for the first time. So can one of you just give me like a 1 or 2 minute real quick explanation of fonio for our listeners?
Real quick, Garrett Oliver, who's an icon and actually was an inspiration to me. That's the only brother I saw messing with beer when I started in '96. So shout out to Garrett. He went down to Africa and discovered or just found some grains that really could work, especially with beer. So he's helping fund countries in Africa that produce it. and using it in beer. So a lot of different breweries have been using them as initiatives. And that was one of the things I asked Blake. I said, could we include fonio? That'd be really dope to have that in there as another element to make this beer special. And Blake said, yeah, hold my beer. We'll make it happen.
Blake, on the brewing side, can you share with us real quick what's unique about fonio and brewing with it?
Yeah, fonio is like a type of millet. So it's a grain that grows in West Africa. And what's really great about it, it has very little inputs. You don't need to irrigate. There's no pesticides. The way it's growing is very little input. So it's very environmentally responsible. But it also, by us developing and working with purchasing fonio, it is adding dollars into this new supply chain and gets back directly to the people who are growing it, which is a new source of income, a new resource that they're able to get out there. From a brewing standpoint of view, we try to approach it like other huskless high protein grains. We're talking about, wheat is a very common one that a lot of people would use. They're not exactly the same when you hold them in your hand. Fonio looks more like couscous or something like that. Mm-hmm. But as far as properties for brewing goes, you're in that range where you've got high protein. We find that the flavor, which you're not going to really have coming through in a stout like this, but we've previously made a lager with fonio to kind of highlight the flavor it brings. And you get like this interesting kind of nutty, light fruitiness, almost white wine kind of character that comes through. But not having a husk, certainly we use a little bit of rice hulls to help support the brewing process. And a lot of those things are going to sound familiar to brewers, where it's like, yeah, I've used if you ever use a lot of flaked oats, or huskless oats, and then also wheat, you're going to learn how to, handle a high protein grain in your mash tun without having problems. But that's the way we approach it as well.
Cool. I think I got to try that beer at Crafted for Action last year.
That's right. They made it with Our Culture, actually, which shout out to them as well. A Black-owned brewing company that they worked with. So there you go.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Ale, last question. What story are you telling with Piano Keys?
A story of being grateful to be in the beer industry for so long. Anything you're doing and being involved with for 30 years deserves a pat on the back, but just the people and the experience and the journey, man, I'm thankful for it. And Piano Keys is just one of those things that it keeps the fire lit.
Well, Ale, Blake, can't wait to see the beer when it comes out and taste it. I got to figure out a way to get a sample of this, try it. Sounds awesome.
Shout out.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, you can learn more about Piano Keys, Ale Sharpton, Creature Comforts, Condor Chocolate, everything we talked about in this bonus episode in the show notes for this episode. Thanks to Ale and Blake for coming on the show today. Thanks to all of you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of Bean to Barstool.